Atmospheric Environment Service of Environment Canada. Over the next few years his library grew extensively, as he studied Kabbalistic magic, Enochian magic, Sumerian/Babylonian magic, Celtic magic, Norse magic, Egyptian magic, witchcraft, voodoo, and Satanism. He sought out the LaVey Church of Satan, but, at the time, the Church of Satan was no longer active. He instead became involved in several other satanic organizations, the Embassy of S.A.T.A.N., the Temple of Set, the Order of the Left-Hand Path, the Temple of Panshatan, and the Order of the Nine Angles. He studied the literature of these satanic groups, while continuing to work with the demonic Bible and experiment with new rituals. In 1991, he established the Embassy of Lucifer, as a political embassy dedicated to the Dark Lord and as a vehicle for the creation of a new Eden. He did not fully understand at the time what form this new Eden would take. He knew only that it would begin sometime after the year 1999. The Embassy of Lucifer received some publicity when he attempted to get its name added to the church's sign on the highway outside of his town. Articles appeared in the local paper, The Province, and Maclean's magazine. He was also interviewed on CBC Radio, representing the fact that the Embassy of Lucifer was still underground and that it would be several years before the rise of Lucifer. The Embassy of Lucifer was also known then as the Order of Anubis. He published the newsletter, The Black Jackal, and presented for the first time the demonic Bible. The rituals of the demonic Bible, as it existed at that time, were published in the Black Jackal over a period of 5 months. In 1996, Magus Sassedge began work as a port inspector and marine surveyor for SGS, an international inspection service, and in 1997, his daughter was born. By this time, he had settled into the domestic life and had retired from active involvement in Satanism. His role in openly establishing an embassy to the Dark Lord had, however, gained him a few enemies. Those who sought his downfall waited patiently until opportunity presented itself and then struck. He was falsely accused and, in the later part of 1997, convicted of sexual assault. While the accusation was not serious in itself, his refusal to accept a plea bargain resulted in a sentence of 6 months in jail and 18 months probation. This was not the last time he would spend in jail. Enraged at his conviction, he made the choice to become a criminal. After his release, he committed a series of frauds on the internet. When he was finally arrested a year later and charged with obtaining money by false pretenses, he fled British Columbia and carried out more fraudulent activities in the provinces of Saskatchewan and Nova Scotia, while on the run from the police. When he was finally apprehended entering the U.S. at the Maine border, October 30, 1999, he was wanted in 3 Canadian provinces. He was deported from the U.S. to stand trial. He received another 6 months in jail and 3 years of probation. During his run from the police, he claimed to have a metaphysical experience which can only be described as having passed through an abyss. He claims to have literally and metaphorically, or metaphysically, died, traveled through a world of the dead, and returned to the land of the living. In that other place he experienced, there was no God, no devil, just an eternal twilight, where life lingers, an ethereal plane, if you will, just beyond the material realm. Whether this experience was a literal reality or purely subjective, one thing was certain. He was no longer the person he had been. He crossed the abyss and come face to face with his true self, the Embassy of Lucifer. The Embassy of Lucifer, EO, was established in 1991 by Magus Xerxes Edge, as a political embassy representing the Dark Lord and his infernal empire, and as the vehicle for the creation of a new Eden. The ecclesiastical arm of the EL was known as the Church of Lucifer, COL. The EL received a small amount of publicity and caused a minor uproar in a small northern community in British Columbia, Canada, when Magus Sasej attempted to have the COL added to the church's sign at the edge of town and placed in the church's listing in the local paper. Despite concern from the local populace, the COL had less than a dozen members at the time. After the public uproar, the EO went underground. In honor of the Egyptian lord of the underworld, the EO also became known as the Order of Anubis. Magus Sasej began publication of an underground newsletter, The Black Jackal, and in the dread pages of this tome published, for the first time, his own system of magic, the Demonic Bible. The Jackal enjoyed a small distribution for about a year, and EO membership grew steadily over the next few years, until it reached about 50 people. By 1996, however, the EO had become inactive. Magus Sasej considered the Embassy of Lucifer to be merely the foreshadowing of a much greater organization, ellipsis.1, which would usher in a new stage in man's evolution. In the year 2000, Magus Sasej's magical experiments with the onyx over the previous decade culminated in the discovery of the word Jesus as the magical dictum for the Eden of Lucifer. In year 1 EL, Magus Sasej re-established the Embassy